Morning, everybody. Welcome. We'll start with our initial prayer. I invite you to close your eyes. Join me to praise God for the opportunity of being here today, learning, sharing knowledge, and trying hard to feel this knowledge in our soul, in our heart, and then we can leave what we learn, what we see. We thank Jesus for the opportunity of learning His message through the gospel. We thanks for the spiritual guides of this house. Invite us to be here today and help us to find the answers we have been seeking so far. May we have a blessed meeting. May we have an enlightened reflection. May this end of year reflect all the hard work we have done in this year. So good. Okay, so today we have a special meeting at the end of the year meeting. And I would like to invite Cynthia. Maybe it would be good to close the door for the kids too. And we'll be talking, as many of you know, this month. It's okay, we can open the door. Just before the kids. Our virtue of the month is charity. And understanding charity deeply helps us to be in according to the main law, the biggest law, which is, you guys remember which one's the biggest law? God's law. Is there any law? No. The divine laws. The divine laws. Yeah, but one of them, they're way more specific. Is the main one. Justice, love, and charity. Exactly. Thank you very much, Dan. And understanding charity, because this is kind of a training. These three laws cannot work isolated from each other. You need one to the other to get in place. Understanding charity is very important for us, because in Spiritism we have the maxim, without charity there is no salvation. But still very far from well known what Kardec and the spirit of hope have meant about without charity there is no salvation. And there is a passage from the Gospel where Jesus brings us a beautiful reflection what is charity and how to understand charity. This is well known as the Jesus meeting with the Samaritan woman, And where there is these two words that are very meaningful for us, living water. So this study today is based on the Gospel of John, the book Without Charity There Is No Salvation, from Samaritan Filho, which also there is no translation to English, but still pretty good for those who are Portuguese speakers should read it. The Spirit's book, which is also there, and we'll talk a little bit about the Gospel according to Spiritism, because actually the maxim, without charity there is no salvation, is in the Gospel according to Spiritism. So it's going to be very tough today. So whenever you have questions, please feel free to make the questions, but once in a while we'll have to interrupt to keep on going, because we have a lot of stuff to talk. This is a very long passage from the Gospel, and it's important for us to read in its entirety. And I would like also to invite you to help if you like to read the passage. So the passage is in John chapter 4, the verses 6 to 30. And it starts like this. Jacob's well was there, and Jesus, tired as he was from the journey, sat down by the well. It was about noon. This well here doesn't mean well-being. This well here, do you guys know what this well means? Fonte de água, or fontaine. Well, it's not fontaine because it's like but the well is the fonte de água for the Portuguese speakers. When a Samaritan woman came to draw water, Jesus said to her, "Will you give me a drink?" His disciples had gone into the town to buy food, so he was alone. The Samaritan woman said to him, "You are a Jew, and I am a Samaritan woman. How can you ask me for a drink?" For Jews do not associate with Samaritans. Jesus answered her, "If you knew the gift of God and who it is that asks for a drink, you would have asked him, and he would have given you the living water." "Sir," the woman said, "you have nothing to draw with, and the well is deep. Where can you get this living water? Are you greater than our father Jacob, who gave us the well and drank from it himself, as did also his sons and his livestock?" Jesus answered, "Everyone who drinks this water will be thirsty again, but whoever drinks the water I give them will never thirst. Indeed, the water I give them will become in them a spring of water welling up to eternal life." The woman said to him, "Sir, give me this water so that I won't get thirsty and have to keep coming here to draw water." He told her, "Go, call your husband and come back. I have no husband, she replied. And Jesus said to her, you are right then. You say you have no husband. The fact is, you have had 5 husbands, and the man you now have is not your husband. What you have just said is quite true. Sir, the woman said, I can see that you are a prophet. Our ancestors worshipped in this mountain, on this mountain. But you Jews claim that the place where we must worship is in Jerusalem. Woman, Jesus replied, believe me, a time is coming when you will worship the Father neither in this mountain nor in Jerusalem. You Samaritans worship what you don't know. We worship what we do know, for salvation is from the Jews. Yet a time is coming, and has not now come, when the true worshippers will worship the Father in spirit and in truth. For they are the kind of worshippers the Father seeks. God is a spirit, and his worshippers must worship in spirit and in truth. The woman said, I know that Messiah, called Christ, is coming. When he comes, he will explain everything to us. Then Jesus declared, I, the one speaking to you, I am he. Just then his disciples returned and were surprised to find him talking with a woman. But no one asked, what do you want? Or why are you talking with her? Then, leaving her water jar, the woman went back to the town and said to people, come, see a man who told me everything I ever did. Could this be the Messiah? They came out of the town and made their way toward him. Well, this is the passage we will be talking about today. It's quite long, but very meaningful. So any of you have ever heard about this story? Ever? Ever? So if we could say in a few words, is there anything meaningful in this passage, or just an occasional meeting that Jesus had with a woman? Well, there are a lot of meaningful things here. One of them first is, this is the second time Jesus used a Samaritan to teach us something. There is the Good Samaritan parable, we probably remember. Also talks about charity. And this one, which is related to a woman, which in that time, men were not allowed to talk with women, just if their husband allowed them to talk. So it was not a usual thing to do. The other thing in this passage, which is very important, is that the Samaritans and the Jews, they didn't talk with each other. They were like separate for wars. even though they came from the same creed, they believed in Moses and all the related prophets before Jesus. They didn't get along. So that's why they didn't talk with each other, as the lady said in the beginning of the talk. Why are you talking? So Jesus' encounter or meeting with the Samaritan woman symbolizes the conditions for self-encounter, fundamental to the work of good, which takes place in 10 symbolic stages. And we will go through all these 10 stages. And I would like you to bear with me. The first stage is very interesting because Alirio brings the reflection about the self-awakening of the desire to seek wisdom. And this is basically the very beginning of the passage where it means Jacob's well was there, and Jesus, tired as he was from the journey, sat down by the well. It was about noon. So, in Portuguese, we have a quote that we say, the well of knowledge. Someone is a well of knowledge. You just arrived. Well means fonte. Fonte de conhecimento. I don't know if in Spanish you guys have the same.
It's similar, sounds similar.
So the well of knowledge. So the symbol of well here is knowledge. Jesus putting himself at the service of an apprentice with all his knowledge to provide her what she was looking for, even though exactly what she was looking for. And this is the main part of this parable or this meeting we will be talking today. Because many times in our life, we truly believe that we are doing something good. We truly think we know what we are looking for, and then, oh, it came by chance. Something came on my way by chance. It wasn't by chance. There is no really chance in this world. Things happen even though we don't understand them clearly, but we will understand once and for all. And in this case, it is exactly this meaning of this passage, because Jesus is helping the woman, the Samaritan woman, to self-encounter her, to understand her deeply. If you guys will remember, in another passage of the Gospel of John, there is a quote from Jesus. I am the way, the truth, and the life. No one comes to the Father except through me. This is very meaningful in this case, because if we are saying that Jesus is putting all his knowledge as the well of knowledge, he's basically teaching someone, and actually this is for all of us. Because if it was registered in the gospel, it came through more than 2,000 years to our hands today to understand it. And understand it indeed is our task. The question 115 of the Spirit's book, are Kardec asks the spirits, if all the spirits were created the same. Do you guys remember the answer? We were created with any difference or the same? We were created all simple and ignorant, with a mission to evolve. And how do we evolve? Do you remember? Learning the truth and understanding better the Father. And the closer we get, the happier we will be. This is also important because if we were all created simple and ignorant, why we still try to make ourselves understanding everything in life? And now I already know this, so I don't need to study the Gospel of John, for example. It doesn't mean anything to me, it doesn't bring me anything different. But the truth is, we usually behave in that question, the 115, we behave in two ways to evolve. Do you remember which ways it was? One was
and
submission. But not submission in a passive way, but submit ourselves to the task, our mission. So, to work, to understand the truth, to live the truth, to feel the truth, and to live the truth. So this is basically the start of our talk. Basically, Jesus is teaching her all his knowledge, providing her the service of knowledge. And then the second step is the full acceptance to become an apprentice of life or an apprentice of Jesus. When he says, Jesus said to her, "Will you give me a drink?" And the Samaritan woman said to him, "You are a Jew and I am a Samaritan woman. How can you ask me a drink?" Even though he was at her service, as we said, offering her the service of knowledge, we do the same. We deny it. And that's exactly what our dear Moacir said. We rebel, we murmur about what's offered to us. And this is basically because in the Spirit school, if you well remember, the divine laws are within us. Where are the divine laws? Are they registered anywhere? In the books of Moses, maybe? In our conscience. And why don't we use it? Doesn't matter. We rebel against them. We don't try, like the Samaritan woman said, you can't talk with me. But we have no relation. We have no part. This is a very important thing to what we will say. The third step is to recognize the gift of life, accepting fully the divine law. When Jesus said, if you knew the gift of God He was basically meaning that she was able to awake for life, for the joy of life, learning through the gift of God, of learning with Him. The fourth step, there is a profound reflection developed within ourselves in the search of the wisdom, through the knowledge of the universal truth, and into the inner truth through self-knowledge to find the essential. So when the woman says, "Sir, you have nothing to draw with, and the well is deep. Where can you get this living water?" This is another very important passage to understand. When she says the well is deep, it's because we stay in the superficial way of life. We usually stay closer to the surface, and we don't want to go in deep. What is in deep of what? You just said, you guys said a few minutes ago, or maybe a few seconds ago. In deep of what? What we are talking about here? What are we talking about? What was the well meaning? Source of knowledge, right? If the main knowledge is truth, and the truth resides where? In the laws. And if the laws are in our conscience, it's going deep where? Our conscience. So basically here, she's revealing why she's still not going to the knowledge, because she still wants to stay on the surface. If you don't have a way to draw with, you can't get the water. And to draw with is basically our effort to get the knowledge, to get the living water. And now here comes a very important step of our reflection, which is the midway of our study. The fifth step is, it is the need to awaken our thirstiness for living water, a symbol of love from our own divine essence. This is more clear when Jesus says, "Everyone who drinks this water will be thirsty again, but whoever drinks the water I give them will never be thirsty. Indeed, the water I give them will become in them a spring of water welling up to eternal life." The woman said to him, "Sir, give me this water so that I won't get thirsty and have to keep coming here to draw water." Once again, she's still treating it in a superficial way because she's concerned about not getting back there again. But it's very, very deep what Jesus says about whoever drinks this water will never be thirsty again. What is the living water? There is some tips in the code on step 5. What is the living water? Symbol of love. Symbol of love, but a very specific love. Which love? Remember, this whole passage is all about self-encounter. What is this love? Self-love. The living water is self-love. Because once we drink the self-love, we truly can understand life better. And then you can say, well, isn't it the self-love selfishness? Is it selfishness? No. What is the difference between selfishness and self-love? Any clue? You guys are very quiet. You should put some people in one. Please. There is another passage from Jesus' life that he says, all the commandments reside in love God with our strength, our heart, and our mind, and love the others as yourself. Joanna de Angelis brings a huge reflection about it. To understand love, to love the others correctly, we have to learn how to love ourselves first. Otherwise, we can't really love the others if we don't love ourselves, because we don't fully understand love. And if we don't love ourselves and don't love the other, how can we love God if we are all creations of Him? So this is a very deep reflection about the symbol of living water, but I didn't answer. What is self-love?
One thing, the eternal spirit within yourself.
To love the eternal spirit within ourselves, but what is the process of that? It can be just words, just intellectual feeling. How can we put in practice that? How can we feel that truth? How can we really feel loved by ourselves?
Trying to practice the laws.
Trying to practice the laws.
In our own lives.
Well, self-love is a virtue, right?
Yes.
We have to develop the virtue. But to achieve this virtue, you need other virtues to be achieved. And one of them, which is really, really important here, and we talked a lot in this first steps that we talked, is the feeling of apprentice. If I understand myself as a being who was created simple and ignorant, and as we just said, and understand that I'm not perfect, I'm not blaming myself because I did mistakes. But a true apprentice will do what when he or she makes mistakes?
Try to learn from it.
We'll try again. And we'll work harder learning from the mistake. This is a very important thing because what is this related to charity so far? That's the second part of the passage now that we will start talking. To seek plenitude without external habits, psychological freedom. He told her, go, call your husband and come back. And she said, I have no husband. And Jesus answered, you're right when you say you have no husband. The fact is, you have had 5 husbands, and the man who you now have is not your husband. What you have said is just quite true. What is the meaning of 6 husbands here? Does it happen in our society these days, people marry 6 times? What do we usually see people who marry, who have so many marriages? What those people usually are? Superficial, maybe? Trying to find what they think it's possible, pushing the other people to be perfect as they want. Maybe. The truth is, all this process in a psychological way of thinking is just a lack of activity for itself that links to what we just said in step 5. I don't have self-love, and I try to find love in external habits. I try to find a person who will make me happy. But there is just one person who can make us happy, or myself, or yourself. It's not either them, us. And this is important because when she is looking for the 6th partner, means she's thirsty. She's thirsty of love. She's thirsty of living more. All the time that we try to do in external habits this, we try to push to external things the problem which resides within us. And this is very important because without charity there is no salvation. People basically do the same thing in Spiritism. They go like crazy doing a lot of charity material benevolence around the world, trying to get their spot in heaven. But they are lacking of self-affect. They are not learning what truly means the teaching of Jesus. To learn how to love yourself first, to then do something else. And I'm not saying here that helping miserable people or poor people it's wrong. No. But are we doing it understanding what it is, or we're just doing it because of external habit? Are we doing it just because someone told me it's good, or because it makes me feel good because I forget my problems for some time, so I don't need to work in my own problems, helping the others? Is it charitable to ourselves? We went forward. Freedom, the step 7 is freedom from seeking God in external habits. It is to free self, or herself, or himself, from all external religious worship. So this is basically in the passage when she says, our ancestors worship on this mountain, but the Jews claim that the place where we must worship is Jerusalem. And Jesus replied, woman, believe me, a time is coming when you will worship the Father neither in the mountain nor in Jerusalem. And this is deep as well. Because once again, Jesus is breaking the temples, saying that's not there, but within us. It's not in the mountain, it's not in Jerusalem, it's not in the Spirit Center, it's not doing anything external, but truly, fully inside of us. On the step 8, to become aware of spiritual reality, that we are all spiritual beings, as Guilherme said, that God, the creative reality, is to be worshipped in spirit and truth. And Jesus says, yet a time is coming and has now come when the true worshippers will worship the Father in spirit and in truth. For they are the kind of worshippers the Father seeks. God is a spirit, and his worshippers must worship in the spirit and in truth. Why this is related to become aware of spiritual reality? Do we still have these days people thinking that God is like a man sitting in a throne with white beard? And then still people connect to the Greek gods, like God has the thunders and the lights and the throws, like when he is angry with someone. Does anyone feel like this? Maybe not in here, but there is a lot of people out there still thinking God is an angry guy who is punishing us on all our mistakes. But Spiritism has broken through these thoughts. Spiritism and Christianism, God's love. And when Jesus brings us the reflection that the Father is Spirit, This is very, very important. God is a spirit, and his worshippers must worship in the spirit and in truth. So the invitation truly is not worship in the mountain, not worship in the spirit center, not worship whatever we not like, but in spirit and truth. And what is worship in spirit and truth? What do you guys think it is? Come on, guys, let's work. Not too hard. We're getting to the end. Just 2 more steps. You can say it.
In its totality,
Just
meaning loving God as it is, as a being, and also in the truth and the law, so loving God and loving the laws as well.
Is this spirit meant God or ourselves? Because we are immortal spirits. So, and the truth resides in the spirit, the consciousness of the spirit. So, understanding the spiritual reality, understanding that we are immortal spirits, and everything we need is within us, brings us comfort or not. Brings responsibility as well, yes, because now I know, depends just on me. It's not just going for external worship, just coming to the spirit, this center that will save me, or giving money to poor people will save me. Unfortunately, it won't. But when I fully understand this, we can understand the Christ identity which resides in us. Because the same question that we mentioned about 115, yes, we are created simple and ignorant, but all of us, without exception, nobody's going to burn in hell for eternity, but all of us will evolve and be pure spirits one day, or superior spirits. And when we become pure spirits, we find our Christ, which resides in us. Because Christ is not a name for someone, but a state of evolvement. Jesus is his name. Christ is the state of evolvement of that spirit. Was his name, because he is an immortal spirit. He probably had too many names for all his incarnations. And this is clear when he says, when she says, I know that Messiah is coming. When he comes, he will explain everything to us. So she had a little bit of understanding of the law, because she had connections with the Jew teachings. And but Jesus declared, and this is one of the few times in the Bible or in the Gospel you will find Jesus saying this. It's not very often that Jesus says that, I am the one. I am, so I, the one speaking to you, I am So I am the water. With this, understanding this, that yes, every one of us can have our Christ identity. Will be come to the last step, which is to become the source of living water, free from all external habits, of the which we are invited to multiply love to each one of those who come to us, inviting them to seek the path of their own well or source. Here is how we finish when he says, then leaving her the water jar behind. So the jar basically reflects our illusion that we can, with external things, uh, heal our sickness or not be thirsty anymore, because she was always coming back to the well. The woman went back to the town and said to the people, come, see a man who told me everything I ever did. Could this be the Messiah? This reflects exactly what Alito brings in the reflection. Multiply love to each one of those who come to us. We didn't see Jesus crazy, seeking poor people to help them. But every single opportunity in his way, someone needed help, he gave. So why are we still trying to go after before we develop our own living source, living water, our source of living water? Because if we develop the self-love, will we spread it, we will foster it wherever we pass? Yes or no? We will. So if we can truly understand what is love, what is charity, what is justice, as the main law says, are we gonna be lovely people? Are we gonna be charitable people? Are we gonna be fair? Sure. And that's what we need to do. We don't need to still have tons of problems on our back, but I will do something to help other people, but I'm not even helping myself. Oh, that's selfishness? No, that's the correct way, because how can you help someone if you can't help yourself? Doesn't make much sense. Doesn't really make much sense. But we still do a lot of this. We see a lot of this. Yes.
I know we probably disturbed you a lot, but
We're pretty much done.
you're gonna do the final prayer before the kids sing or
No, I think after.
after? Okay.
So let me just ask if there are any questions here.
Okay.
Give me 3 minutes, please. So this is what we had to discuss today, and I hope the message was brought with my poor English. And the very little time we have, but it is an important message. It is an important time of the year to think about this. Because at this time of the year, we always think, oh, this is an enjoyable time to be charitable. Am I being charitable to myself first? That's a very important question we should have at this time of the year. this time of the year, would love to invite you all to open the Spirit's book and the question 919 and read it fully, because this question, 919, brings us a lot of reflection how to get to self-love, because basically invites us to understand ourselves. Any questions, guys? Any suggestions? If I say anything wrong here, please feel free to correct me. Very anxious kids to come in and show you the music they just learned. So if you have no questions, I will open for the doors. Thank you very much for your
Yeah, go. Go. If you guys want to share, we have a few copies of the lyrics. If you guys want to share. But you guys should be in the center, not me. So we go all the way around again. Okay, so you switch with Marina. There, done. Problem solved. Sophie's here. Stella. You don't have to. You have a beautiful face. But you need to share it with me. I don't have my paper. Is everybody ready? We're going to sing a song for you. How does it feel? Someone gives you a helping hand. How does it feel? Someone takes the time to get to know you. How does it feel? It feels good. How does it feel? It feels good. How does it feel? Someone gives you a second chance. How does it feel? Someone loves you just the way you are. How does it feel? It feels good. How does it feel? It feels good. So do what that's you will have that good to you. So do what that's you will have that good to you. It's the golden rule. How does it feel? Someone gives you a helping hand. How does it feel? Someone takes the time to get to know you. How does it feel? It feels good. How does it feel? It feels good. How does it feel? Someone gives you a second chance. How does it feel? Someone loves you just the way you are. How does it feel? It feels good. How does it feel? It feels good. So do others as you would have them do to you. So do others as you would have them do to you. It's a golden rule. Awesome job. Awesome job.
Merry Christmas!
Thank you. 2 rock stars.
Pode deixar ele também. Bota a música, Guilherme.
Quero parar então, porque como combinado.